I was trying to make this video and the power went off, so now the fan is loud. Hopefully it doesn't affect much, and I had it pointed the wrong direction, so you got Sig Holly on the wall. Yes, I'm always laying down when I make these videos because when I'm relaxed, I think a little bit better, I think. So I've been asked a lot about moon days, and I even wrote a little piece on moon days for my friends. One of his books, he's doing some small books. I did a lot of research on the moon days because when I first started, I'm talking about within Ashtanga Yoga. I guess I should lay the groundwork if you don't understand that. Within Ashtanga Yoga, we take off full moons and new moons called Amavasya in Sanskrit and Purnima. Purnima is full moon. Amavasya is the new moon. And everyone always thinks, I don't have to do this, blah, 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 blah. No, you can do whatever the hell you want. But in the tradition of Ashtanga Yoga, we take them off. In Tantra, we have actually special programs that go on for them. You do your regular puja, but you always add in a little bit of extra stuff. For Guruji's house, we have a special whole event for them, for both. So, because it helps to not manipulate, transmute, I guess would be a good word, the energy of the moon and the way it affects us in our bodies, in our minds. When I was young, I was always affected by the full moon, strongly. I didn't really know that's what it was until my aunt had a job at a hospital, and during the full moon, she always was talking about how busy they were. And it was very interesting to me because around that same time, I always felt kind of crazy is not the right word, but in my mind, I would get very, very, very emotional and very, very, very pressed. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. I would feel very frustrated. And then I would see my aunt and she would say, oh, it's the full moon. We had this trouble at the emergency room, blah, 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 blah. So some ways I kind of knew that, even though I didn't actually know that. People always ask, and I have been told many, many things. Patabi Joyce used to say, 3 planets are in one line. It makes bad things. So he used to have people not take off once a week, but take off the day before, the day of, and the day after of the new moon and the full moon. So 6 days a month, same as it is now, but 3 days in a row around these times. That changed a little bit. For me, I feel both of them a lot. I used to only feel the full moon strongly, and now I feel Amavasya strongly. A lot of times I'm much more affected the day before as the energy of it is building. That's with the full moon. With Amavasya, with the new moon, I'm the day of is very pressing for me. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my head. This week there was a full moon, and I still feel traces of it. Like the emotions are there, the headache is there. The best way, if you're thinking of it practically, pragmatically, the way it affects our bodies literally is the best way for me to explain it and people understand it and have patience with it. So if you think of the moon and the way it affects the tide in the ocean, and if you're familiar with always hearing about our bodies being 70 to 90% water, there's always a different number, but it's well over 50% of our body is made up of water. Why wouldn't the moon affect our bodies in a similar way that it affects the ocean? The tide is high on a full moon and it's low on a new moon. So if you think about the water in our bodies having a tide, on the new moon, the tide of our body fluids, like synovial fluid, which protects the joints, the elbows, the fingers, the wrists, all that stuff, is at its lowest ebb on the new moon. And so not practicing at least for one day, maybe more, depending on how it affects you, is good for you to keep your joints safe and healthy. It also affects your mind in a way where you feel slightly depleted, some people more depleted. Some people feel like what a woman could possibly describe as when she's heading into her menstrual cycle. I've heard men and women both say that, they feel that way. And when you hear women talk about their menstrual cycle, it sounds the same to me. Not saying it is the same, because obviously the menstrual cycle is much more a personal thing and a kind of an upheaval within their own physical body. But it hits me pretty intensely. I'm not going to say I have a menstrual cycle that with it, but it is something to think about. So on the new moon, that cycle is very low, right? That means on the full moon, the synovial fluids and the other fluids are going to be higher, which can cloud our mind because the fluids are high. So we feel a little bit high around that time. Also, the joints are going to have so much fluid in them that they're tighter. Tighter is good. So practicing on the full moon for some people is not a big deal. The thing is, with that feeling of safety that's caused by it, it can make you feel a little too safe, and you'll push yourself a little bit more and have maybe an adverse effect on you. I remember when I first started Ashtanga in 2000, I was going to a class once a week. The rest of the time I was trying to learn it and teach it to myself through David Swinson's book at home. And on the class, it was on Wednesdays. Well, the original class was Thursdays, and then when I went to the full class, not the beginner's class, it was on Wednesdays. And one week there was a moon day on a Wednesday, and I noticed she didn't cancel class. Well, you know, she's a great teacher, but she wasn't really an Ashtangi, so she wasn't convinced that that is something you should have to do, because in many traditions they actually practice yoga with more, maybe with a different level of awareness on those moon days. And I always had a weak lumbar spine, but on this occasion, when I went home, I had my right SI joint had a pinch in it, and it hurt for weeks after that. And I always thought it has to be this moon thing. And I will tell you now, and this is 24 and a half years later, if my back hurts, it is always in the right SI joint. It is a little achy right now. And it's always worse around the full moon. New moon less, but around the full moon. New moon affects my mind in a different way now. So you can think of it as a safety precaution. You can also think of it that we, I will say this, Ashtanga tends to draw type A sort of people to it. I am not a type A person as far as physicality goes, because I am quite lazy. I'm not interested in pushing myself to do this CrossFit kind of stuff and jump and go. I'm not that kind of guy. But I am type A when it comes to spiritual practice. I overdo my spiritual practices quite a bit. So after this time that I hurt my back, and I had that pinch for a long time, I made sure after that, okay, I'm taking moon days off. It's not going to be an option to skip them anymore. Just to have the rest. What I brought up type A people about is because very often they don't want to take that rest day. They think it's going to make them worse and blah blah blah. They're going, they have a mental dialogue around the kind of person, the kind of practitioner they have to be based on this personality type that they've got. In that case especially, it's really, really good to have that day off. It's great to have one day off a week to give your body time to recover, to integrate the things that are happening with you, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, all of it. And then to have this extra day twice a month. Can it really hurt? What is wrong with taking a day off of physical exercise? Now, yoga to me is more than physical exercise, so there are some aspects I never take off. I do always meditate, I do always chant my mantras, I do always try to stay as mindful as possible. And on those days we take off, they say, the Ashtanga people, that gives you an extra chance to really work on the yamas and the niyamas. I don't like to say that, because if you're only taking the extra effort to work on the yamas and niyamas 2 days a month, then you're not really a very good yogi anyway. You should be observing, to the best of your ability, the yamas and niyamas on a deeper level of understanding, not on this surface level of understanding. That's maybe a topic for another video. Daily. Yoga means to observe these things daily, not to observe them twice a month. So maybe on that day it gives you more space and time to set up your intention for the morning to observe these things more. Maybe that's kind of what they mean. I don't know. They are actually, they. So we don't know if it's actual people saying it or just a group, but they say it. So I say, do what you like. It's up to you. It's your business. But once in India they follow the lunar calendar. So to honor the moon is present in all of their rituals, in all of their spiritual practices. There's not one thing that's not affected by it. So if you don't have any interest in following that, to me, you're kind of sticking with the Western way of seeing things more as a workout program than as a yogic experience, because it's needed to test ourselves, and sometimes testing ourselves means to do less, because we're always willing to do more. And what's wrong with doing less sometimes? Seeing how it affects you, observing, being aware. It's okay. It's okay to do less. Maybe that's also why I lay down in these videos, because I'm showing you how nice it is to be relaxed. And I'm pretty relaxed most of the time. My mind could get the better of me some days. But when my mind is good, that relaxation is there. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, try relaxing a little bit more. Maybe just after you see this for 20 minutes. See how it goes, okay? See you. Have a great day. Bye.